This is part B of chapter 11, and in part A we started to look at TV audience measurement, and so I want to finish that before we move on to radio. Television ratings services define unique geographic television markets to minimize the confusion of overlapping TV signals. The Nielsen Station Index uses the term designated market areas, or DMAs, for geographic areas, which are cities and counties, in which the local TV stations attract the most viewing. Advertisers must decide when to air commercials and on which programs. Programs continue to run or are canceled depending on their ratings, which are the percentage of the population watching. Ratings also vary with the time of day a program runs. Viewing is highest during prime time. To reach the greatest percentage of the advertiser's target audience with optimal frequency, the media planner determines a day-part mix based on TV usage levels reported by the rating services. Rating services and media planners use many terms to define a station's audience, penetration, and efficiency. TV households, or TVHH, refers to the number of households that own television sets. The number of TVHH in a particular market gives an advertiser a sense of the market's size. Likewise, the number of TVHH tuned in to a particular program helps the advertiser estimate the program's popularity and how many people a commercial is likely to reach. The percentage of homes in a given area that have one or more TV sets turned on at a particular time is expressed as households using TV, or HUT. If there are 1,000 TV sets in the survey area and 50 are turned on, HUT is 50%, or 50 out of 1,000. The program rating refers to the percentage of TV households in an area that are tuned into a specific program. The rating is computed as followed. Rating equals TVHH tuned to a specific program divided by total TVHH in the area. The percentage of homes with TV sets in use, HUT, tuned to a specific program is called audience share. The actual number of homes reached by some portion of a program is called total audience. This figure is normally broken down into demographic categories to determine audience composition. In television, gross rating points, or GRPs, are the total rating points achieved by a particular media schedule over a specific period. For example, a weekly schedule of 5 commercials on programs with an average household rating of 20 would yield 100 GRPs. GRPs allow advertisers to draw conclusions about the different markets available for a client's ads by providing a comparable measure of advertising weight. However, GRPs do not reflect a market size. For example, while campaigns in Knoxville and Charlotte might have the same GRPs, they would differ significantly in the number of homes reached. To better determine the relative value of television advertising markets, other measures are used, such as cost per rating point, CPP, and cost per thousand, CPM. Media buyers select the most efficient programs in relation to the target audience using the cost per rating point, CPP, and the cost per thousand, CPM, for each program. By calculating CPP, the media buyer can compare the cost of a rating point, which is reaching 1% of TVHH, from one program or network to another. That's good information for beginning negotiations. But rating points relate to the whole market. The real important figure is the cost of reaching 1,000 prospects in your target market. That's why the CPM should be calculated against the size of your target audience, not the whole market. The lower the cost per 1,000 people in your target audience, the more efficient the show is at reaching your real prospects. TV stations and cable companies publish rate cards to sell their airtime. However, since TV audiences are estimated at best, television reps will always negotiate prices. The media buyer contacts the rep and explains what efficiency the advertiser needs in terms of CPM to make the buy. The buyer has numerous ways to negotiate lower rates. They can work out a package deal, accept run-of-schedule positioning, or take advantage of preemption rates. A preemption rate is lower because the advertiser agrees to be bumped or preempted if another advertiser pays the higher or non-preemption rate. After the advertising airs, the station returns a signed and notarized affidavit of performance to the advertiser or agency, specifying when the spot aired and what make goods are available. Make goods refer to free advertising time an advertiser receives to compensate for spots the station missed or ran incorrectly or because the program's ratings were substantially lower than guaranteed. Now let's look at radio. Radio is a personal one-on-one medium. People tend to listen alone, and radio is mobile. It can entertain people who are driving, walking, at home, or away from home. Radio is also adaptable to moods. In the morning, people may want to hear the news, upbeat music, or interesting chatter. In the afternoon, they may want to unwind with classical or easy listening music. Radio also helps to reach audiences underrepresented in other media. For example, it tends to have higher reach with audiences that are not watching television during a given day part. With radio, national companies can tie into a local market and target the specific demographic group they want to reach. Most important, radio enables advertisers to maintain strategic consistency and stretch their media dollars through imagery transfer. Research shows that when advertisers run a schedule on TV and then convert the audio portion to radio commercials, fully 75% of consumers replay the TV spot in their minds when they hear the radio spot. That extends the life and builds the impact of a TV campaign at greatly reduced cost. Radio stations plan their programming carefully to reach specific audiences and to capture as many listeners as possible. The larger the audience, the more a station can charge for commercial time. Programming choices are greatly influenced by whether a station is on the AM or FM band. FM has much better sound fidelity, fewer commercial interruptions, and more varied programming. To counteract FM's inroads, many AM stations switch to programs that don't rely on sound quality, such as news, talk, or sports. When buying radio time, advertisers usually buy the station's format, not its programs. Most stations adopt one of the dozen or so standard programming formats: contemporary hit radio, adult contemporary, country, rock, easy listening, news talk, and so on. Each format tends to appeal to specific demographic groups. A challenge to terrestrial radio has been mounted by networks that transmit signals nationwide via satellite. Until 2008, satellite radio had been a two-player competition between first out of the block XM and its chief rival Sirius. In July of that year, the two companies merged to become Sirius XM Radio. The combined networks have continued to add a sizable number of subscribers, reaching nearly 30 million in 2015. Sirius XM has attempted to convince people that radio is worth paying for by offering two important benefits not available to terrestrial radio listeners. These are a large number of program choices, in fact dozens of stations and a variety of music and non-music formats, and exclusive programming such as Howard Stern, Oprah Winfrey, and pro sports. Another challenge to radio is the explosion of iPods and other music players, now also being integrated into mobile phones. Over 200 million iPods have been sold worldwide as of 2010, and roughly half of current mobile phones can play music. This will have the greatest impact on young, age 12 to 24, listeners who already listen to radio 20% less than the national average. And the trend suggests that they are listening to radio less every year. An advertiser may purchase network, spot, or local radio time. Advertisers like the size of the audiences, selectivity, and cost efficiency of radio. Advertisers may use one of the national radio networks to carry their messages to the entire national market simultaneously via stations that subscribe to the network's programs. In addition, more than 100 regional radio networks in the United States operate with information oriented towards specific geographic markets. Network radio provides national and regional advertisers with simple administration and low efficient net cost per station. Spot radio affords national advertisers great flexibility in their choice of markets, station, airtime, and copy. They can put commercials on the air quickly. Some stations require as little as 20 minutes lead time, and advertisers can build local acceptance by using local personalities. Local time denotes radio spots purchased by a local advertiser or agency. Radio advertising can be either live or taped. Most radio stations use recorded shows with live news in between. Likewise, nearly all radio commercials are pre-recorded to reduce costs and maintain broadcast quality. The radio day is divided into 5 day parts. The morning drive from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., daytime from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., afternoon or evening drive from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., nighttime from 7 p.m. to midnight, and all night, which is midnight to 6 a.m. Rating services measure audiences for only the first 4 day parts because all-night listening is very limited and not highly competitive. The heaviest radio use occurs during drive times, during the week, when many listeners are commuting to or from work or school. Radio stations base their rates on the time of day the advertiser wants commercials aired, but the rates are negotiable according to supply and demand at any given time. To obtain the lowest rate, an advertiser orders spots on a run-of-station or ROS basis, similar to ROP in newspaper advertising. However, this leaves total control of spot placement up to the station. So most stations offer a total audience or TAP package rate, which guarantees a certain percentage of spots in the better day parts if the advertiser buys a package of time. Average quarter-hour audience, or AQH persons, identifies the average number of people listening to a specific station for at least 5 minutes during an average 15-minute period of any given day part. The average quarter-hour rating expresses the AQH persons as a percentage of the population. The same idea can be expressed in terms of average quarter-hour share. The station's audience, AQH persons, expressed as a percentage of the total radio listening audience in the area. The gross impressions are arrived at by multiplying the station's audience, AQH persons, by the number of times a message is delivered to that audience. And then last, the gross rating points of a radio schedule are the sum of all rating points delivered by that schedule, or the gross impressions expressed as a percentage of the population being measured. Cum persons is the total number of different people who listen to a radio station for at least 5 minutes and a quarter hour within a reported day part, also called unduplicated audience or reach. The cum rating is the cum persons expressed as a percentage of the population being measured. The principal advantages of radio are high reach and frequency, selectivity, and cost efficiency. In terms of reach and frequency, radio offers an excellent combination of each. The average adult listens more than 3 hours a day, radio builds a large audience quickly, and a normal advertising schedule easily allows repeated impact on the listener. In terms of selectivity, specialized radio formats with prescribed audiences and coverage areas enable advertisers to select the market they want to reach. And that could be a specific sex, age group, ethnicity or religious background, income group, employment category, educational level, or special interest. In terms of cost efficiency, radio offers its reach, frequency, and selectivity at one of the lowest costs per thousand, and radio production is inexpensive. National spots can be produced for about 1/10 the cost of a TV commercial, and local stations often produce local spots for free. In terms of other advantages, radio also offers timeliness, immediacy, local relevance, and creative flexibility. In spite of these advantages, radio has its limitations. It's an oral medium only. Its audience is highly segmented, the advertiser's commercials are short-lived, and often only half heard, and each ad must compete with the clutter of other advertising. In terms of limitations of sound, radio is heard but not seen, a drawback if the product must be seen to be understood. Some agencies think radio restricts their creative options. In terms of segmented audiences, if a large number of radio stations compete for the same audience, advertisers who want to blanket the market have to buy at multiple stations, which may not be cost-effective. In terms of short-lived or half-heard commercials, radio commercials are fleeting. They can't be kept like a newspaper or a magazine ad. Radio must compete with other activities for attention, and it doesn't always succeed. And then last, of course, is clutter. Stations with the greatest appeal for advertisers have more commercials. Advertisers must produce a commercial that stands out from the rest.